Hi, welcome to Country Basket Weaving. This is the beginning of our fourth series. This will be series 400, and we have lots of things that we're going to be working in this series, a lot of new patterns. In fact, they're all new patterns for you. Before we get into the series and into weaving a basket, I would like to go over some of the supplies and some of the tools and different things that you'll need in order to complete a basket. First of all, some of the handles. This is a basic D handle, some different shapes and sizes. A larger one here, D because of the board across the bottom, which we use as a spoke in baskets. In fact, we'll be using a D handle in next week's basket. Also, we have here, this is a notched handle, happens to be a closed notch because it's on the top and bottom. The string here, sometimes rubber bands are used here. That's just to retain its shape until you're ready to use it. Here's another notched handle, a single notched, a round one. This one here has a grip on it in the middle. Here's a Victorian. We've used that one in the past. That's a beautiful handle. Here's a swing. This one has some wood knobs on it. These pull out, so you could put this notch here on the outside. A couple of different styles of notched handles. Here's one with rivets in it, and here's one with ears attached here, just to give you an idea. Also, we have here our hoops, and of course we have our round hoops, and they come in many, many different sizes. These are oak, and here's a square hoop and an oval. Lots of different things here to show you. Seagrass comes in a coil like this. And here we have some poplar. This is tulip poplar. This happens to be dyed. I have a brown and some green and blue here. It comes in many different colors. This is new on the market, and I think this is going to be this is kind of exciting to have it all done for you, to have the dyeing done. Of course, you can do your own because it also comes natural like this is here. This is 1 1/8 inch wide. It comes in many different sizes also. We have some new handles to show you. These are wire handles. They're made with copper. I'm going to use these in today's basket. I really like them. They come with a set of ears, and that's how you attach it to the basket. It comes in many different colors. There's a hot pink and a brown and a green, and here's a black one here. It's just lots of ideas to do with these. Let's get a reed. We're going to be working with some smoked reed. Here we see some smoked. And this is round. I prefer to buy my reed in coils. You can buy it in hanks, and it's probably a little bit cheaper in hank, but I like the coils because it stays neat, it's easy to work with. And this one I'm going to show you how to open. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to cut these and pull them off, and the whole thing's going to fall apart. But there is right here some reed that's wound around it, and I leave that on because it helps hold it all together. Sometimes you'll find some more pieces down in here, and those I will clip off. I simply pull out a piece and work it out, and then I'm all ready to work on it, put it into the water to soak. Going over some of the tools that you'll be needing. Of course, you're going to need some scissors or reed cutters. These are reed cutters. I also have scissors I work with. This is a reed gauge, and it's kind of nice when you're starting weaving because it does have the different sizes of the flats, and it has the holes here for the round, so you can kind of figure out what sizes you're using. Of course, I like my spoke weight. That's important. Something to hold the reed down as you work with it. Spring type clothespins. You're going to need a tape measure. A sewing type works fine. Needle nose pliers. A sharp knife, a kitchen paring knife, that works fine. A pencil. I also have here an awl or a knitting needle. I use both of those, so one or the other or both. A screwdriver or a basket weaving tool. This one's nice because it has rounded edges where your screwdriver is kind of sharp edges. You need a towel, and you're going to need a bucket of water. And then you'll be all set. Most of these things you'll find right around your household. I need to clean off this table to get ready to make up our basket that we're going to work on today. It's going to be one of these. We're going to be making the middle size, and I call this one my college dorm basket. I've made one for the University of Michigan and Michigan State. You're both in here. It has the wire handle attached with it, the new copper wire handles. While I'm clearing off the table, I'm going to give you the cut measurements so you can be prepared for that. You're going to need, for the college dorm basket, 1/2 inch flat, cut 13 pieces 22 inches long, cut 7 pieces 27 inches long. You're also going to need additional 1/2 inch flat for some weavers. You're going to need 1/4 inch flat and 1 1/8 inch dyed tulip poplar. You're also going to need some caning for the lashing, some seagrass for the filler. You're going to need 1 wire copper handle with the 2 ears. Now that we're back and we're ready to begin our basket, I kind of took some time out and I went ahead and started this because there's so many spokes in this one. There's 13 spokes that we have to place. So what I did was I took my 7 spokes at 27 inches and put them under the tips of them under the spoke weight and wove them in. I have 2 left to do, but one thing I want you to note right here is that this center spoke is the first one I put in, and it must go under first. So I wove this under and then over, under, and so forth. So remember to put that under first. And then I wove 6 above it, and I'm here at 4. Remember that reed has a right and a wrong side. I'm going to bend it like this and match up the ends, bring my finger up here, and with a pencil I'm going to mark the center right there. I know I have the wrong side of the reed because I get these little hairs that come up on the wrong side. The right side is smooth. Then I'm going to go ahead and weave this in over and under, over and under. And this is my center here, so that center line is going to line up. It's under here. I know it's there. I'm going to mark this other one the same way. See my hairs coming up there? It tells me that that's the wrong side. Weave it the opposite weave. This is just a basic basket weave, and pull it up there. Now I do need to space all this, and this one I've spaced, it's really a little bit less than 1/2 inch, and this is 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to cut off a little bit here and take it down to about 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to cheat on that one a little bit, and then I'm going to start here at the middle, and I'm going to line this up in there and draw this up, and that's how I'm going to do my spacing. I want the base to be 5 1/2 by 10 3/4. So when I get this all done, I may have to do some more adjusting. Pull this in tight. I don't need this spoke weight anymore, so I'm going to set that off. Okay, before I do my other spacing though, I'm going to come in here with my tape measure, and I am way too big. I'm at 11 1/2, so I know I've got to draw this in more. And I'm just going to eyeball this. This spacing really needs to be about 1/4 of an inch. And if you're good at eyeballing, you can go ahead and eyeball. If not, you may want to get 1/4 of an inch piece and use it. And I want this at 10 3/4, and I'm 10 1/2. The reason I need to be a little more exact on this than I do some of my patterns is because of the handle that I'm going to be fitting in here. There, 10 3/4. Now I just need to come in here and just do a little bit of eyeballing and readjusting. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to eyeball it. About 1/4 of an inch spacing. Again on this side here, and this one I need to be 5 1/2. So let's come in here and measure it. Just a little bit drawn too tight. Bring it out just a little. Okay, let's check it again. Just a little bit off yet. You should check from both ends. That's 5 1/2. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now to hold it in place, take 4 clothespins. This is the spring type, and just clamp your 4 corners. And that's going to hold everything in. I'm using 1/4 inch flat here, and I'm going to cut me a smooth end. And it doesn't matter whether right or wrong side is up. This is kind of a new way of forming a rim around here to hold everything together. And I'm going to weave this one under. I'm going to start on top, so make sure I'm on top. And I'm opposite weave of this spoke here. And I'm going to weave this around. Take off my pin when I come to the end. Now I'm going to do a miter here. I'm going to bring this down here and do a miter and continue weaving. So this one would go under, this one's over, so the next one's under, and go ahead and weave that out. This is a real quick way to make this row here to stabilize this basket. Now I have to do it underneath this time because I'm under. Make a miter and then weave it across. Turn my work up here. It's easier for me to weave up right than it is upside down. Okay, again a miter. I'm over, so my next one's under. Continue weaving this around. And I'm going to be under this one, almost back where I started. Be careful when you do that. You don't pull that, otherwise you're going to pull your basket out of line. You'll need to go back and do some measuring again. I'm coming across the one that I started on. Here's where I began. I'm weaving right on top of it. That's going to hide that end. I'm weaving over 4, which would bring me to this one. Come in here and we're going to just cut that off a little bit short, a little bit shorter than the width of our reed, and tuck it under there and just hide it like that. Now we're going to come in here and upset the basket, and as you upset this basket, it's nice and wet, it's not going to break. You may hear it crack a little bit, but that won't hurt it. And I'm coming in here and I'm trying to make my bend right on the edge of that 1/4 inch we just wove in. It's real easy when the weaver goes on top of it because it just bends up naturally. On the other one you may need to use your finger and put that bend in right at the edge. Okay, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to clamp up my 4 corners, and I use about 4 spokes at each 4 corners, and the reason I do that is to help shape the basket. Those first couple of rows of weaving, there's nothing to hold the basket together. And so if I clamp up these corners like this, it'll help me shape the basket as I weave up the sides. This is going to take me just another minute here to get these all bent up. Remember, keep your reed wet. If it starts drying out, just dip it back in your tub or take a spray bottle. Save one of your window cleaner bottles. They work good for a spray bottle. Rinse it out good, and you can spray these. Some people like to use a sponge. That works good too. Okay, now I'm ready to go on. Now I need to go in here and get some reed that I've had soaking. You need to soak reed. Oh, it doesn't need to soak for too long, maybe just a couple of minutes, unless you get in the real thick reed, and then it does need to soak longer. I have some 1/2 inch here. I need to look for my right side because I want the right side on the outside of the basket. This first row of weaving is going to look kind of sloppy, so I'm going to use lots of clothespins. I come back to this row here on the bottom, and because I'm over here, I know I'm going to be under here. And I'm going to back weave just a little bit, a couple of spokes, and clamp that in. This is just a basic over and under weave. When I come to my corner, I'm going to take my corners off, weave around the corner, and put that corner back on for a couple of rows because this, like I said, it helps shape the basket. Watch your corners. Don't pull them too tight. Make sure they just flow around that corner real smooth. Put my corner back on. And I need a clothespin in here to help hold this down. And again, I'm going to watch that corner real close. I don't pull it too tight. I think most people, when they start weaving, that's one of their tendencies is to pull things too tight. And come back, and I'm back to where I started. Make an adjustment on that corner, and I'm going to overlap 4. This is where I began, and I'm going to count over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it's going to hide under this one right here. weave right on top of where you wove before. That hides the first end, and the second end is going to hide underneath that spoke. Turn the basket over. Because we have this overlap, we don't want to get a big bulk area in there where it starts piling up. So I'm going to start the next row over here. And I'm going to quickly talk you through this. Again, I'm going to start always on top so I can hide that end and weave it around. Now as I weave this row, I start packing things in tight. Make sure your spokes are straight up and down. Pack things in tight. Each row needs to be packed in tight. Bring it down and work this row around. Weave a total of 3 rows around the basket. I've already done that right here. So I'm going to pick up from here. Now I've woven a row of 1/4 inch flat around the basket. And that's what I'm going to do now. Again, make sure you have the right side of the reed out. And this is done the very same way this row is here. And I'm going to weave it around. This is just to make a little difference in the pattern. And again, I'm watching my corners. Over and under. Make sure you keep those spokes straight up and down, and check your packing. Make sure this is all packed in tight. I'm weaving kind of fast. You can take your time when you weave. I weave fast to save time. Okay, I'm back to where I began, and I'm going to overlap, weaving right on top of the piece I began with and cutting it over so it overlaps for 4 spokes. Now I need a piece of the tulip poplar, and for this one I've chosen the blue. I haven't wet this one because tulip poplar is a wood and I don't want to raise the grain, but I am going to just dip it into the water and dampen it slightly. And that'll make it a little bit more workable. You need to be careful with it as you work with it though, because it does crack and break if it's bent too much. So we're just going to work real easy with it. On this pattern, I need to find my center spoke, which is right here, and I'm going to go under that center spoke, over the 2, now I'm weaving backwards here, I'm weaving to the left, over 2, under 2, and then over the 1, and pull that down in. Repeat the pattern over here. I'm under the center, over 2, under 2, over 2. I need to move this down just a little bit because I'm going to be over those 2. And then I'm under 1. And from here I'm going to go by 1s. And I'm back to the other corner. And see how I'm pulling this reed down because I don't want to bend the tulip poplar too much. I want to work the reed instead, work with the spokes instead. I'm over, let's see if I can get my pattern right here. I'm over 2, under 2, over 2, under the center, and then over 2, under 2, over 2, and then I'm back to my end, and I'm going to weave that just every other one. And that takes me back to this side. And then I'm going to overlap. This is where I began. So I'm over those 2, under the next 2, and that's where I'm going to cut this end off. And I'm going to slide that and hide that underneath this spoke right here. Okay, go back in, and if you need to pull these down, tighten this all up. Make sure your packing is in tight. Each row is packed in tight. Do any adjustment that you might need to do. Okay, now I'm going to reverse the weaving, and I'm going to put in another row of the 1/4 inch and 3 more rows of the 1/2 inch. Now I'll come in here and we'll get this next basket I've already worked on. I've already put the ear in this one. I'm going to show you quickly how to do the other one. You need to cut and tuck the top, and this one I've already got ready for it. I'm going to slide that little ear right in there and bring these sides down Tuck these down in. And that's going to hold that ear in place. Every other spoke is going to get cut off. And the ones on the outside are going to get tucked in. Now we're going to put the rim on. And we're going to take and we're going to whittle this down for about 3 inches. Place it on the outside here and work it around and pull it tight next to the basket. I don't want any gaps in it. Work it all the way around, pin it on. This is where I started my whittling. That's where I'm going to cut off that end. Come to the back of it and whittle down the back of it a little bit. That'll help it lay next to itself a little tighter. Okay? Do the very same thing for the inside rim, and I've already done this. It goes on the opposite end of the basket, and you're going to work that around. Then we're going to need a piece of caning. This basket I'm just going to single lash like I did on the sample here. I did it double, but today on this one I'm going to just single. Pull that ear up. Make sure this fits on in there tight. And take your caning, put a little point on one end. I'm going to start here close to the ear so I can show you how to go around the ear. I've got the shiny side, the good side of the caning faces the basket, comes underneath the rim up, and it loops around and goes to the outside between the basket and the rim. And using a tool, I'm going to come through here and I'm going to put that end back to the inside, pull it through, and repeat that step one more time. And then go down and leave that little tail on the outside of the basket. Before I put my seagrass in, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get ahead of myself. Now your piece is going to be longer, but for the sake of time, I made mine a little shorter. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start this piece, again going between my 2 rows of weavers on the top, and I'm going to loop this around and begin the next one over here. Then I'm going to go in and fit that seagrass into the top here. Between those 2 rims, it's going to fit in here, and then I'm going to pull this down tight. Give that a tug. Now make sure you bring this across and it crosses in front of the ear. Pull this through and bring it back, and you're going to go back into this hole and pull it through and keep right on going. But that X in there is what holds that ear in. Okay, I've already got this one all lashed. I just need to finish it here, so I'm going to just do another, insert it through here and pull it up tight. Make sure everything is pulled tight. I need to end my seagrass ends here, so I'm going to cut them. You notice I've staggered the ends, so I'm going to cut that one to match, oops, over here. So that one's going to butt up there, and I'm going to cut, let's cut that off there and here. So that one butts up there, and then nobody can see where we stopped and started those ends. Go back in here. I'm back into the very first hole. Before I go in there, I'm going to put a little, snip that tail off, get it out of the way, open this up, and I'm back in to where I started. You can cut this off so you have about a 6-inch tail. Come up in here, you're going to end it the very same way you started it. But because we're working with that seagrass in there, it's a little bit difficult. And I have to get it underneath the seagrass, and this is where I ended it, so it won't be too hard to raise that seagrass up, slide it under the seagrass, whoops, like so. Well, it pulled out anyway, and then put it down here. Repeat that one more time to hold that in there good and secure, and then this little piece that came in here, you're just going to push it up in there. You need to square out your basket. We need to put the handle on, and I simply slid the handle into there, into the ears, and come up here and just give these a squeeze to tighten them up. Square up your basket, like so. and then you have a finished basket. My handle came off, so I'm going to show you this one, but I just squared it up. Okay, next week we're going to be working on our Kelly's Market basket. It has a pretty trellis, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.